And what is going on, everybody? Welcome back into the AFC South Roundtable presented by Roundtable Sports. And also, guys, we are powered by BetUS, guys. BetUS has a great new promo for you guys if you guys want to kind of dip your toes into the whole gambling scene. If you're a Jaguars fan and you're a Titans fan and you know you're out of it, BetUS is going to offer you guys a sweet 150% deposit bonus using promo code YouTube150 to kind of make maybe some of these other games just a little bit more interesting. And throughout the show, we will get into some different lines and props for you guys. So with all that said, we're going to go ahead and recap what went on in this most recent NFL week. We had 2 winners and 2 losers. We'll start this show off high. We're going to go ahead and bring in a winner. We got 713 Houston Sports, Ruben in the building. What's going on, Ruben?
I am blessed and highly favored UCF, man. How is it going? How's it going? We just showed Texas who reigns supreme, and that is H-Town, baby.
Yeah, very, very convincing manner. That the game the Texans really did need. Just not only are you beating a worse opponent than you, you need to get back into win column, and they did it convincingly. They didn't really leave any doubt in that one. So we'll see if Houston can ride that momentum going forward. But has a new opponent entered the arena, okay? Anthony Richardson is back in the starting lineup, and, he came back and probably had his best game as an NFL pro. And we got representing the Colts from the Bring the Juice podcast. We have Derek Larger in the building. What up, Derek?
What is good? What is good? I know Ruben ain't up there trying to act like he asleep. This man was off stream talking about my quarterback. We ain't talking about yours. We talking about my quarterback.
How dare you?
Decided to show up, and guess what? He left no doubt. All them haters are crying right now because they have nothing to be able to hate on him after that game. Just went to work on a really good Jets defense. It was really good to see the Indianapolis Colts get the win and get the win off of the back of Anthony Richardson. Let's talk about it, baby.
And you guys aren't ready for Mac Jones to come beat your team. But we'll get into the rest of the AFC South. We got from the Tennessee Titans. We are both in the Sad Bowl, but maybe not on Tankathon. Number 1 and 2 in the NFL, baby, on Tankathon. The number 2 team on Tankathon. We got Titans Rossi representing the Titans from the Titan Upload Network. What's going on, Titans Rossi?
Yeah, man. I mean, we're in the heated battle of the Tankathon. Me and UCF Jaguar right now with both of our really crappy teams. I mean, the Titans came out and fought. We'll talk about it. But I thought for a second, I was like, "What are you guys doing? Like, we're in the sweepstakes here. Don't screw this up." And they didn't. They fought well. They didn't. I'm still happy. We're still in it for the number 1 pick, and it looks like me and UCF will be battling all season for that pick, possibly.
Number 1 and number 2.
Hey, man, that Titans game was definitely in doubt in some moments, but the Jaguars, the number 1 team in Tankathon, left nothing to be doubted, losing 52-6, which we will get into later. But, hey, man, if you guys are trying to be better than the Jaguars, a lot of teams are good at doing that. But if you're trying to outsuck the Jaguars, it takes a really, really bad team to be able to outsuck us. Giggity. But we'll go ahead and move on. We'll go ahead and go into – let's start with the injury report. We can go around the table. Ruben, we just saw your team play the other night. Let us know some injuries. It looks like Nico Collins is back. Is he kind of back in full? Was he limited at all? Let us know a little bit about what's going on with your squad.
Yeah, so they said he was a full go. However, when you saw the split sheets, you saw that Nico was on the offense about 40% of the time. So I guess they are bringing him along slowly. I expect him to be full go this upcoming Sunday. But we also got I believe we got Joe Mixon back. He was dealing with some things during practice, but he was out there for participation and go. Right now, UCF, we are wondering about Will Anderson Jr. We haven't seen him the past 2 weeks. We haven't got an update about him at all. Kamari Lassiter, our rookie cornerback, didn't play in the game last night either. He is dealing with a concussion also. So hopefully we get back 2 big starters. But, besides that, this Houston Texans team, they are getting healthier.
So we'll go ahead and go to Derek. Derek, can you let us know a little bit about what's going on with your injury sheet?
Not a whole lot that I'm aware of right now. Bernard Ryman, our left tackle, I'm hoping to see him back next week. We really need him right now, especially for, the fact that right now we have like 3 rookies playing on our offensive line right now. So really need our stud left tackle back. And Jonathan Taylor kind of went out of the game late, was getting his ankle wrapped. And from that point forward, you could kind of tell he just wasn't quite the same after that. I don't know whether or not he's going to miss any time, but clearly it was impacting him towards the end of the game. And that's something to keep an eye out for next week.
And Titans Rossi, anything going on with you guys?
Yeah, so we had another inside linebacker go on IR. So it's like our second starter that's out for the year. They traded Ernest Jones already. Jack Gibbons, they call him Dr. Gibby in Nashville, but he's out for the season. So, Jerome Baker, been in the league for a while. He'll be playing for us. And, the cornerbacks, Awuzie and Sneed, the 2 guys we brought in to be our starters, still no sign of Awuzie really. And really, I don't really know what's going on with L'Jarius Sneed. I don't even think he's technically been on the IR. So it would be nice to have that guy back because, they traded for him and given him that money and all that. So it'd be cool to see him get on the field here and there.
Hey, he's too busy on Instagram posting throwback shots of him on the Kansas City Chiefs, but
Right. I saw that.
But yeah, and I know when it comes to the Jaguars, we're still kind of on a Trevor Lawrence watch. We knew early in the week he was going to be out against the Detroit Lions, but Doug Peterson said that maybe after the bye week he comes back. Of course, at this point, I don't know if he's going to have surgery, because if he would have had surgery, he probably would have already had it by now. So maybe when the Jaguars host the Houston Texans coming off of their bye week, he will be back. But we'll just have to see. And I know the Jaguars officially lost Gabe Davis for the season with a meniscus injury. He was a really disappointing signing. Just looked really slow. It always looked like he's running a quicksand. Wasn't a great addition for us. And the Jaguars, Tank Bigsby was inactive with a knee injury. So I'd imagine he'll probably be back coming up next week. So with all that said, that's kind of the injury roundup. Real quick, we do have a super chat. And if you guys want to get in on the show, the best way to do it is a super chat. We read all super chats. So big shout out to Paul Wilson. He says, I was shocked.
Shouted down.
I was shouted down by Colts fans for saying AR needed to be benched for not being ready as a pro. Look at the result. Had his best game. Go Colts. So any response to that, Derek?
There's a couple different things. I mean, that very well could be what might have led to this. But then again, we kind of have to see more weeks of this, of whether or not AR, continues these kinds of performances. And then we can start talking about whether or not that was actually the cause.
Yeah, so we can go ahead and we can get into the Colts right now a little bit. I know this time last week was a weird time for the Colts, because this time last week, Joe Flacco was still the starter. And, before that, it was said that Joe Flacco will be the starter for the rest of the year. So we, of course, did this stream, and we did a pre-recorded preview, which, airs on Thursday. And by that time, Anthony Richardson had been the starter for over 24 hours. Yeah. So the decision was made, and it appeared that, Anthony Richardson kind of had his best day as a pro. So I do want to get a quick temperature check on the Indianapolis Colts. You guys are 5-6. How are you guys feeling about now with Anthony Richardson back in the starting lineup? How do you guys feel about yourselves as a team? And are you kind of eyeing potentially a playoff spot to maybe make some noise based off of what Anthony Richardson looks like at his ceiling?
Well, I mean, yeah, obviously watching that game and seeing Anthony Richardson play like that definitely makes you feel a lot more optimistic about your chances. I mean, I'll sit here and say it. I have to see it to believe it again. I have to see Anthony Richardson have more of these. Like, yeah, it was great to see him be able to have this kind of performance that Colts fans so desperately needed from him, and what he needed from himself to gain that kind of confidence. But I have to see him do it regularly. I was looking at playoff odds yesterday. whether we lose to Detroit, what we need to do to win after that, or if we win against Detroit, what things need to be done. Like I was looking at all different kinds of scenarios, and there's plenty of opportunities here.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if the Indianapolis Colts only lose 2 games, the rest of the 6 games that they play, and as long as they beat Denver, their odds of making it into the playoffs is actually really good. So, I mean, there definitely is a chance. I'm not sitting here saying I think we are. Obviously, we got a tough stretch coming up ahead. But, yeah, after watching the Colts figure it out offensively a little bit and see an offensive game plan finally work for Anthony Richardson and Shane Steichen, definitely makes you feel a lot better about the remainder of the year.
Yeah, and if we're kind of getting a look at what the AFC South looks like, so on paper right now, the Texans are 7-4 and the Colts are 5-6. So it looks like they're 2 games back. However, the thing that is really hurting the Indianapolis Colts is the fact that right now the Colts are 1-3 in the AFC South, and the Texans are 3-0 in the AFC South. So essentially, with that one, the Texans, of course, swept the Colts, and also the Texans have 1 game against the Jaguars and 2 games against the Titans left. So if they win one of those 3 games, then boom, they are basically have the tiebreaker over them. So they would have to basically have a 2022 Titans or a 2023 Jaguars collapse in order for the Colts to probably win the AFC South. But for the Colts to win the AFC South. But with that said, there definitely is still a chance at the wild card spot. So when it comes to like how Anthony Richardson played, like, do you think, of course, looking back, we were all kind of calling Shane Steichen an idiot. I know for me, I thought you needed to probably place him in timeout after what he did in the Texans game.
Mm-hmm.
And then, the following week, you had to kind of put out there and set the tone that, this isn't acceptable by this organization. But maybe it was feeling like they were keeping him benched for too long, like 3 whole games, leaving him on the bench. But then all of a sudden they surprised that they brought him back. So do you think that, with this whole thing, do you think that there was a method to Shane Steichen's madness? And do you think that maybe this was the right approach?
I looking back on it now, obviously it might be a little bit too predetermined, because obviously you look at the result now and everyone has the notion that, hey, the benching fixed Anthony Richardson. I wouldn't necessarily say that. It could have helped, but then again, Shane Steichen changed up the game plan. Receivers weren't dropping as many passes, things like that. So, Anthony Richardson looked a little more locked in. I don't know. It definitely could have. But, I mean, I totally still think that the Colts botched how they did it. I don't think that they did it the right way. You let players find out through the media that Anthony Richardson wasn't going to be the starting quarterback going forward. And that's not a tight knit, situation for the players. Like the coach should have been sending out messages to every single player in that organization saying, hey, this is what's about to happen. Just want you all to understand what's going on before it happens. Didn't like it. I didn't like that the Colts allowed the narrative to, spin out of control that Anthony Richardson is a lost cause, and that, this was about the tap out, and that, he's just, there's no reason to even play him at this point. His career's done. They didn't do enough, in my opinion, to protect his image in front of the media. But nevertheless, looking back at it now, from what Steichen and these coaches have been saying, was that he needed to be more of a pro's pro, like not saying he didn't take the job seriously, but there were some things he could have taken more serious and more ways to prepare himself. And sure enough, after a couple weeks and, more readiness, and, like we said, he had easily his best game of his professional career so far. I hope that is a sign of things to come. But yeah, I still think it's a little predetermined on whether or not this benching actually ended up fixing AR, though.
Interesting. So, Next, I want to kind of ask Ruben. Of course, the Texans were in a little bit of a struggle situation going into this one. Of course, they started out the year great, but they'd lose 3 out of the last 4 going into this game. But of course, the Texans got a very commanding 24-point victory against the interstate rival Dallas Cowboys on Monday Night Football to make it even better, so the whole entire world was able to see it. So, and when you also look at the Texans, when you're coming up, they have the Jaguars, Titans, and Dolphins. So 3 pretty easy games coming up. So I'm curious, how are you guys feeling, over there in Houston? Do you guys feel like you're kind of back now after kind of having this big win against the Dallas Cowboys?
I wouldn't say we're all the way back, but we took a step in the right direction. The second half woes were still there for the Texans. They put up 10 points offensively, 3 and a 7 drive late in the game. You also got the big defensive touchdown for Derek Barnett. But the confidence did rise up a little bit, because you can honestly say this was your first full quarters of complimentary football from the Houston Texans. Your new offensive line, its second game together, they only allowed a pressure rate of 36.8%. It's still high, but compared to what it's been the last 5 weeks of 48s, high 40s, almost 50, I mean, it is a good sign. We also saw Joe Mixon get back to his true form. So there is some confidence after last night. However, I do know who we played. So the Houston Texans need to keep on building on this, get 1% better. Like head coach D'Amico Ryan said, you take care of Tennessee. We got Jacksonville, then we got Miami. A tough stretch, in my opinion. You have to get back offensively wise, but the confidence is growing, UCF.
Yeah, and like I say a lot of times, it's not really about who the best team is in, September, October, November. It's really about who the best team is really in January. But right before, we get into January, the final 2 out of 3 weeks of the season, week 16, you play in Arrowhead. And then week 17, Christmas Day, you play at home against the Baltimore Ravens. Those are a couple of big matchups because, if you go over there and kind of get beat down, you'd be limping into the playoffs with because you don't really have much time for correction. So, yeah, when it comes to that, like, it really feels like the Houston Texans definitely have this division. Of course, last 2 years, we saw 2 teams completely implode. I'm not sure. It's kind of hard to do that. It's very rare that teams do that. But, the Titans and Jaguars, of course, did it. So we'll definitely keep an eye on the Houston Texans going into it. And we'll also see if maybe the Colts can rise up into a playoff spot. So finally, we got the final 2 teams, the toilet bowl teams. Rossi, I kind of want to know with you, and I asked Mike last week kind of about this. Where are Titans fans at right now when it comes to how you're feeling about this team? Or are a lot of people kind of in, hey, let's tank, let's get a quarterback mode? Or, is your fan base really just trying to fight for more wins? Are you guys maybe kind of keeping an eye because we know you probably need a quarterback? Are there some free agents that you say, hey, if we don't end up with a good draft spot, maybe we'll go out and get X quarterback from free agency? Curious as how you guys are taking this season now.
Yeah, so I mean, this week there's kind of been a little bit of a turn because the last 2 weeks, Levis has actually looked better. And, there's a lot of fans out there who have really kind of stuck with Will Levis and are like, hey, we got to give him time. The NFL is so used to just dumping quarterbacks nowadays and this and that. And, I mean, Levis had a pretty good game against the Vikings. There were some calls in that game that was just really ridiculous. I mean, some of the worst officiating I think I've seen all year, to be honest. And not just like, look, the Vikings would have beat us anyway, but there were some calls that were just like really insane. The type of calls you would like, if I was a coach, I would write the league about, but Levis had some good plays. Like, he had a 98-yard pass, didn't throw a pick. No, he did throw a pick, I think, at the end or something, but the game before he played pretty good. But I'm not one of those people who are like sold on him yet. We did a poll on Twitter and on our network, and it's kind of like 50-50 right now. Do people want him back next year? Do they want to give him another shot already next year? And look, I mean, for me personally, Will Levis would have to like play above and beyond for the rest of the season for me to be like, Yeah, like he would have to have Anthony Richardson type games that Richardson had this past Sunday, like multiple games. And I don't see that happening. I don't want him back personally, but I think the fan base is kind of split right now, and I think it's just they're kind of up in the air. And I think the fan base is also at the point of I don't think a lot of people necessarily want the tank, but I think people have accepted it. I don't think people are as extreme as me, where I'm like, we need to lose, man. Like losing is winning right now. Like that's it, and that's even if we go, maybe get Sanders or you can get Travis Hunter. Like, you know what I mean? Like either way, I think I think the Titans are looking at a potential season next year where it's a bad season again too, but a little better depending on what happens, at the quarterback with all that.
So I'm curious, because I asked Mike about this last week too, but of course want to hear your thoughts on it. How are you feeling about your head coach, Brian Callahan? I know we've seen some situations where, especially with the Texans, they would kind of hire guys, then maybe the situation wasn't the best. So maybe they didn't think that they could get the best head coach. I don't know if maybe the Titans situation was the same where, maybe it wasn't a very attractive spot. So maybe, they bring in a guy like this to kind of have the role for now until they really feel ready to move forward.
Yeah.
Do you feel like Brian Callahan, from what you've seen so far, can kind of be the head coach to potentially take the Titans to the promised land one day?
I think Callahan's got a lot of potential. I don't know if he's that it coach, you know what I mean? But I do think he's got a lot of potential. He's grown a lot throughout the season. You could tell there were a lot of things early on where a lot of rookie mistakes, a lot of kind of presser moments where he was probably saying things he didn't need to say. But I think he kind of is evolving a little bit. And I think Callahan's like one of those head coaches that needs his quarterback. Like he needs a specific type of quarterback. And I don't know if he doesn't get that quarterback, I don't think he's going to make it. But I guess you could say that with any coach, right? You need that quarterback. But I think there are some coaches where you could have a few different types of guys in there and you could still win games. But I think with Callahan, it's going to be such like more of a system type thing, and he needs his system type guy. And I don't think Will Levis is that guy. But I do think Brian Callahan can be that guy. And I think he deserves at least one more year to see if he can be that guy.
Interesting. So speaking of whether or not it's your guys, we can talk about these Jacksonville Jaguars, man. There were some reports coming out this weekend that, Shad Khan, the owner of the Jaguars, does not like to fire guys mid-season. But if the Jaguars were to potentially get blown out by the Detroit Lions, there might be some change that actually happens. So then at that point, everyone was trying to find their Lions gear, put it on, and be like, all right, let's go lose this game, baby. And the Jaguars did that. Worst loss in franchise history. Lost by 46 points. So we're like, we did it, baby. We did it right before the bye week. Monday, the pink slips are coming out. We're going to say bye-bye to Doug Peterson and hopefully GM Trent Baalke. But it didn't happen. Radio silence. And now it is Tuesday night, and it still hasn't happened.
How do you feel about that?
I don't feel good about it. I was really, really wanting the Jaguars to fire guys just because I'm the kind of person that if something isn't working out with my team or even a situation that I am in, I say, all right, it's time to accept it and move on from it. And the Jaguars right now, we all know that, hey, Doug Peterson will not be the head coach next year, and very likely Trent Baalke will not be the GM next year either. So why don't we make some moves? I mean, there's already been 2 NFL head coaches fired. We just saw GM Joe Douglas get fired from the New York Jets today. They've completely cleaned house. And here we are as the Jaguars after Shad Khan said before the season that this is the best coaching staff and this is the best set of players that I've ever had in franchise history. And right now the Jaguars are 2-9. So I get embarrassed if my fantasy football team is bad around my friends, but this guy has to report to owners meetings every year as kind of a laughing stock. So I don't understand why guys aren't gone. I don't understand why you don't just go ahead and move the process forward, but it hasn't happened yet, unfortunately. So, I thought right now would be a perfect time. We got a bye week. It's, almost December. Like it's time, but if it doesn't come now, I don't know when it will come. And if you kind of take a look at the Jaguars schedule, we have the Houston Texans next week. And then after that, you have a bunch of teams with losing records. So I don't know. It's obviously the Jaguars are done. The best the Jaguars can do is go 8-9, and that doesn't get you into the playoffs. So, and you look at Tankathon, we're number 1 overall. We had the number 1 overall pick of the season ended today. So, we're in a mode of we have 6 games left, just kind of get through it. So, I don't know. I just feel like we have to move on in some sense. But I guess owner Shad Khan doesn't feel the same. So we're going to have to just continue to monitor what the heck is going on over here in Jacksonville and just kind of move forward with that. So next, I do want to go ahead and recap some of these games. But before we do that, I do want to go ahead and take a look at BetUS, this channel sponsor. Of course, these streams are powered by BetUS, and we got some different odds in next week. And we're going to get into kind of predicting the games in the AFC South next week. But I want to put some money on one of these games while we're kind of live on the air. And we got a pretty good game on Monday Night Football. The Baltimore Ravens are going to Los Angeles to play the Chargers. Not much analysis here, but I want everyone to just go ahead and give who do you think is going to cover. We have the Ravens as 3-point favorites in Los Angeles. We'll go to Ruben. Who you got this one?
Give me the Chargers, baby. They have been one of my favorite teams to watch. They got a nice head coach up in there, Mr. Hardball. He has them boys firing on all cylinders, man. Let's shock the world. Let's go Chargers.
Let's hear it, Derek.
Harbaugh brothers facing each other once again. I really need the Ravens to win this one because for the chances of the Indianapolis Colts to make it into the playoffs, the Chargers need to lose a few more games. So I'll take the Ravens here.
What about you, Rossi?
I'm gonna go with Ruben on this one. I'm gonna go with the Chargers, just because of the way the Ravens have kind of been backpedaling a little bit. So I'm gonna go with the Chargers.
All right, sweet. We'll put a cool $10 on that one. 2 people Chargers, 1 person Ravens. So we'll go ahead and I'll take the Chargers too. So 3-1. How about that? So if you guys want to hear some AFC South predictions, tune into our show on Thursday and we'll give you all of that. But here's another one. How about AFC South winner odds? The Texans right now minus 10,000. So that translates to if you put $100 down, you're gonna win $1.
Win $1.
So I don't know if I like those. How about the Jaguars plus 20,000? Look, if you put, let's say $100 down on this one, you can win 20 grand.
That's insane.
It's a lot of money.
That's a lot. That's
of money.
Life-changing money, though.
How about the Indianapolis Colts here? They are plus 1,400. If you just put $20 on this one, $280. I don't know. Like we can. Hey, how about this? The AFC South. We've had a trend. So we'll see. How about this? It's just my money. I'll put $20 down on the Colts and see what happens, okay? We can see what happens. So with all that said, if you guys are interested in doing any of these kind of bets, you guys can go to BetUS and use promo code YouTube150. They're going to give you a 150% deposit bonus on your first deposit and 125% on your second and third deposits. They got 24/7 customer support. And they also have quick 24-hour payouts as well. So we can go ahead and move on and talk about some of these game recaps. And you know what? We'll just start with the Jaguars. Like I said, the Jaguars, they lost 52-6 last weekend. And I thought it was going to be like, all right, sweet. We did it. We had a really bad loss. It's time to fire head coach. It's time to fire some guys. Bye week is here. Let's do it. And then obviously nothing happened. There's not much recap here. We're just a terrible, terrible team. Look, they scored touchdowns on their first 7 possessions, the Detroit Lions. 7 possessions, 7 touchdowns. And then their 8th possession, they got a field goal. And their final possession, they wound up just going in victory formation, and they won it. We did not stop them a single time. And if you go back to the last 2 times we played the Lions, they haven't punted at all. No punt. So the Lions kind of own us right now. So with that said, Ben Johnson nailed his Jaguars job interview. So, I'm sure he's I'm sure it said, hey, Ben Johnson, look what you could inherit. Okay. Look at all this that you could come to.
A whole lot of nothing.
But yeah, it was bad. And honestly, the Jaguars without Trevor Lawrence is getting completely exposed. They've gone last 7 quarters, 0 touchdowns. Since Mac Jones has been a starter, only 1 touchdown from the offense. I mean, Trevor Lawrence was a huge deodorant for this offense. And without Trevor Lawrence, this offense just straight up does not move. And, like I said, last week, the Jaguars had 3 interceptions and still only 1 touchdown. So it's a really, really bad team right now. And especially without Trevor Lawrence, it's just no point in even like watching them. I'll be honest with you. Just 6 games left. Get through it. Hopefully we have number 1 pick and we can really start looking at different GM and coaching candidates. With that said, we'll go to Titans Rossi and his pussy to give us his thoughts on this game.
I was holding up the Jaguar. I got now. Yeah. So, the only look I was watching the recaps of some of the games because I didn't really get to watch them a lot this weekend, but I was watching that Jaguars and Lions. And the only note that I have is the Jaguars had a lead in this game, 3-0 at 9:39 in the first quarter. So the Jaguars actually did have a lead at one point in this game.
Hang the banner.
And right. And dude, I saw a clip. I think you had clipped it out on X or something of your live stream or something like that. And you were like, the comeback's about to begin or something.
It did not happen, unfortunately.
And I was just tripping out about that, man, because I feel your pain, dude. Like, there you go. We played the Lions, dude. The Lions are a good football team, man. Like I could see them winning it all this year. They got that squad, dude. And I don't know if they didn't tear us up as bad as y'all, but almost as bad. I mean, it wasn't nearly as bad, but it was close. So yeah, dude, it's a struggle in Jacksonville right now.
Derek, let's hear your thoughts.
I mean, I look at some of the numbers and 645 yards by the Lions in this game, 8.5 yards per play. I mean, that is insane. I mean, I know obviously that, the Jaguars offense was already bad this year with Trevor Lawrence, but without Trevor Lawrence, I mean, it's literally the worst thing to mankind. I mean, Anthony Richardson led offenses look a million times better than this, but I mean, that's insane that Detroit was able to move the ball so easily against the Jaguars. I'm still shocked. I mean, 38 first downs. They had 76 total plays of offense. So that means every other play that the Lions had, they got a first down on, which is crazy. I mean, it's that this is one for the record books. I am very much surprised that Doug Peterson is still the coach of this team because, yeah, I mean, whether or not you're trying to preserve some kind of tradition or something, this is the kind of performance that should get you fired pretty much all the time. And I don't know why, but yeah, I mean, obviously Trevor Lawrence not being in there, they're using that as a scapegoat a little bit, but I mean, even so, I mean, this is still a blowout regardless. So, I mean, it was the funniest part of the whole game was watching UCF try to keep positivity on his stream at the end, even when they were down 40 and still trying to find a way to say, all right, guys, it's going to make it that much harder to make the comeback. I was dying, dude. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and if you guys want to check out that clip, go to my Twitter at UCF_Jaguar. You'll see what everybody's saying. Somebody clipped it. Yeah, it was just when you're losing by 46 points, whatever, you gotta find any way to keep the optimism and sarcasm up. Of course, I had no belief in the Jaguars coming back, even after we were down 7-3. I was like, all right, guys, game's over, but is what it is. Ruben, let's hear your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, it was tough to watch that stream. You have your brother on there, you got your pops on there, and it's not fun. You know, it's not fun when you're seeing your team only put up 6 points, man. But you know, at this point, I'm just confused why no one was fired. Like Derek said, when you lose 52-6, that is a fireable type of game. We even talked about firing Doug Peterson all the way back to when he was losing across the country in London. But you bring up Trevor Lawrence being a deodorant. Hell, I would say he's a deodorant plus a cologne, man, because without him, this Jacksonville team looks absolutely horrible. You know, right now, the only thing you have to look forward to is the number 1 overall pick. I checked out your video a couple of days ago with the what's his name from Colorado, number 12, Travis Hunter. Yeah, the Travis Hunter edit with Roger Goodell. I like that. But you know, right now at this point, it's all about, you know, looking forward to the draft, man. Tough, ugly loss by the Jacksonville Jaguars.
All right, so bye week coming up, so we don't have to talk about the Jaguars in our preview either. So boom, we get a whole week off. How about that? Get a couple super chats. Paul is out here sponsoring this channel. He's saying, keep rambling, Rossi. We need you back in the chat. You are hilarious. There we go. Some Rossi. You know, Rossi, it's like people either love him or hate him. Okay. That's my favorite part about reading the comments. We got Paul also saying, hey, Jags fans, just Saturday is available if you need a midseason.
Hey, he at least will get you 1 win.
I will take him. Heck, I will take Derek Larger to come coach us because I want that number 1 overall pick. So,
I will gladly take a move down to Florida and $750,000 or $1 million to make that move, dude. I'll do that happily.
Yeah, but then you'd have to step aside from your AFC South roundtable duties, and
that also would be true. But
you have commitments. So you're saying that for $750,000, you would step aside from an AFC South roundtable and be interim head coach of the Jaguars?
Interim. That's the thing. I can always come back to this, though.
I don't know, man. You'd have to put on a Jaguars hat, Jaguars polo. Nobody would see you the same.
No, I would pull the Bill Belichick. You know, I'd just go out there with a sweatshirt, broken sweatshirt, and you know some whatever other sweatpants that he has on. You know, stuff like that.
All right, Colts, you heard it here first. Derek is officially a sellout. Okay. You guys know who to attack. You guys know who to call a fake fan. He's out there. He's right here. He's at the bottom right corner right now. So we can go ahead and move on to another very unimportant game in the AFC South when it comes to just playoff implications. I don't know. The Titans right now, they're 2-8. They're not very good either. Titans, Rossi, you know, let's hear a little bit about your thoughts of the Titans losing to the Minnesota Vikings 23-13.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it was actually a closer game than I expected. Like they played pretty well, and like I said, there were some calls in that game that was just absolutely insane. Like I mean, I'm talking some calls by the refs that if they don't call it and they make the right call, I mean, we're talking about the Titans potentially, you know, I'm not saying winning that game, but being very close or have a chance to win the game at the end. So, you know, the Titans played tough. Like they played the Vikings tough. You know, at the end of the day, not enough to win. The offensive line it's just bad right now because it's a turnstile. I mean, they got some guy that I've never even heard of that's playing right tackle right now. It just one thing after the other. But like I said, you know, the positive from that game is Will Levis had some good plays. Like he was still like just a tad over 50% passing, but he did throw for 295 yards. He was just a lot better overall. But that's really the only thing like right now that the Titans have to look forward to is, can Will Levis get better? Like, can he be the guy? Like, can he get better and better every week going into the offseason to show that they need to give him one more season? Because right now, man, like, there's not really a top quarterback in the draft. Like, is there a top 3 pick right now, like a quarterback? You know what I'm saying? So you're kind of stuck right now. You know what I mean? So you got to hope that Levis can get better.
All right, Ruben, let's hear your thoughts. You are muted, Mr. Sir.
Yeah, my fault. Yeah, I know one of those calls that Rossi was talking about, right? In the end zone, the defenders, they definitely do not hit the Minnesota Viking in the head. Jalen Petrie had one of those called last night. Definitely did not hit the Dallas Cowboy guy in the helmet. However, tough call, but you can't really blame the refs in that situation. You saw another good game from Will Levis, and in my opinion, it is kind of too late. Like Rossi said earlier, Callahan needs this guy, and we've had this conversation about whether Will Levis is the guy or not. And I don't think if he plays good remaining of the season, I still don't think he is the guy for Coach Callahan. However, you only lost by 10 against one of the best teams in the NFL. I know we don't like to say, oh, that was a good loss. However, this was a good loss for Tennessee. They still get closer to the number 1 overall pick, and they did put up a fight, man. Still a tough loss for them.
Derek, let's hear it.
Yeah, it was one of those weird games for Will Levis. I mean, yeah, 295. I mean, the completion percentage wasn't great, and I think it's just the lack of consistent big plays from Will Levis that's hurting him. I mean, the yardage has never really been a problem for Will Levis. I think it's just been, when you talk about the rewards, the touchdowns that he provides you versus the turnovers he gives you, it's a 50-50 balance, and you can't quite have that if you're looking to try to be a quarterback that teams are trying to move forward with you. Yeah, the offense moves a little bit with Will Levis, but it generally doesn't translate to points. And that's the problem that the Titans are going to have to figure out. And yeah, I mean, it was definitely a close game. I mean, Rossi's right. When it came to when the Titans ended up throwing that touchdown to Nick Westbrook, I mean, again, that brought that within one score. I mean, that obviously a lot of things could have happened, but then, the Tennessee Titans couldn't quite keep it together, and the Vikings drove again. Yardage wise, I mean, these teams were very close, but again, another problem that the Tennessee Titans have had all year, they can't run the football consistently. If your quarterback, who is not a running quarterback, is going to lead your team in rushing yards and only have 18 yards, you're never going to win a football game. I'm sorry. You're just not going to. And, I actually do want to ask Rossi, because, I mean, obviously we're hearing from your guy as well that, the refs were a big reason why the Titans lost. I mean, I'm genuinely curious because I didn't actually watch the game. Like, how do you blame the refs for why the Titans lost, or were they just a small component?
I don't blame it. I don't blame them for losing, but I think that they did have a big part in it. There was some, like the play that Ruben was talking about. I mean, you're talking about taking I'm pretty sure that was a 4th down play. So you're talking about taking a touchdown off the board there. As far as that goes. And it's just, I think it had a huge part of it. I think it's a 50-50 thing, to be honest. Like, I think it was that big a part of the game. And it's all across the league, man. Like, this issue is not just with the Titans. I mean, it is league wide this year, and it's absolutely terrible. And the college football too. I mean, in college too. I don't know where they're hiring these guys or what the hell's going on, but it's been rough. I mean, across the whole league.
Interesting. And yeah, to kind of go on what Derek said, I mean, running backs combined for 12 carries of 15 yards. I mean, whenever that is your stat line,
right?
You're probably not winning the game. You know what I mean? I mean, like, of course, you throw to you throw to get leads, and then you wind up running to win. And yeah, when you don't have, I mean, it doesn't really matter what team you are. I mean, when that is your stat line, you're just not going to do good things. And of course, it is nice to see kind of Will Levis moving forward. It's just, kind of unfortunate the situation that he's in, where there's a very good chance that they're not going to get a lot of wins. And then, if you have a top 3 pick in the NFL draft, you're almost kind of forced to draft a quarterback if you don't really believe in your guy right there, just because you never know when you're going to be back there. You never know if the Titans all of a sudden next year improve to 6-11, that probably gets them picking number 9 in the NFL draft. And all of a sudden you're
right.
not, at that point, it's like you're going to have to use assets to trade up. And do you really want to trade do you really want to be the Carolina Panthers where you mortgage everything for a quarterback that stinks, and then you're basically in the dumps for the next 2-3 years? So yeah, that's we'll see with the Titans, but of course, this was just another game where they played a close game to a good team. But usually a lot of NFL games are close, but the good teams wins, and generally the bad teams lose, and that's kind of the case here. So we can go ahead and move on. Let's go ahead and talk about the Colts matchup. Man, the Colts won this one 28-27. This was definitely a game that was in doubt. It took some big time drives by Anthony Richardson at the end of the game to win this one. And yeah, this was the most impressive game from Anthony Richardson's career. I mean, first of all, it was his first win where he had over 200 yards passing. He also had 3 total touchdowns on the day, 1 passing, 2 rushing. Also, no turnovers. That is a big one.
He did have one. There was a turnover. There was a fumble on the first drive of the third quarter. He got sacked and got laid out by the blitzing linebacker and lost the ball when he was trying to throw it. So, but no interceptions though.
Look at Derek. Look at Derek.
I know. Look at Derek. I appreciate you coming in here, stepping in here, because unfortunately, CBS Sports, they don't have the fumbling line.
Right. I know. I don't know why they don't track that stuff, but
so definitely appreciate that. But I think most importantly though, when the Colts needed Anthony Richardson to put the Colts on his back and drive down and score points, he did that. So yeah, the Colts, they beat the New York Jets, maybe not the best team in the world, but at the same time, they do have a lot of talent on the defense too. The Colts improved to 5-6, definitely still a chance, and a pretty good chance for them to make the playoffs. I mean, definitely it's in their control if they want to make it or not. I mean, if they win out, that means they are 11-6, so they definitely have a chance to potentially make some noise in the AFC. So Derek, give us your thoughts on this game.
Yeah, I don't care who it was against for this win. I mean, this was such a important game for Anthony Richardson to come back from so many people talking about him for 3 weeks and questioning who he was, not only as a quarterback but as a man. To be able to come out and be that leader and be what resembles a future franchise quarterback. That's what you saw in this matchup. Now, again, it's obviously just one game. We want to see him continue to do it, but it was better late than never when it came to this. So, I mean, and of course that comes down. I mean, this whole game really, you talk about Anthony Richardson because that's how good he is with this game. I mean, he was 100% completion percentage adjusted when he was blitzed in this game, which is crazy to think about because, again, we saw a few throws where he was getting dragged down by one of the defensive tackles and still completed a pass to Josh Downs in the flat that resulted in a first down when it was a key 3rd down and 8. Huge moment in the game. And what stood out was, again, the Jets at 2 different times in that fourth quarter were winning by at least a touchdown lead. And Anthony Richardson not only brought them down to score a touchdown once in the fourth quarter, and then he did it twice. So, I mean, it was incredible, the clutchness of that performance too, which gives you a lot of confidence that, the moment isn't actually too big for him. That in those moments, he can thrive as long as you give him the game plan necessary. Obviously, it helps when guys are open and they catch passes. Josh Downs, Alec Pierce, Michael Pittman, all amazing performances on Sunday. And yeah, I mean, this is a Jets defense. This is a top 10 Jets defense. I know a lot of people will look at it and be like, oh, the Jets are not good. Yeah, but it's because their offense is bad, not because of the fact that, Anthony Richardson is playing their offense. I mean, they have a top 10 defense. So it was even more impressive with the fact that you weren't running the football very well. I mean, the Colts, with Anthony Richardson's rushing total, I think they only ran for, what was it? I think it was only 60 or 70 yards. It was 80 yards, but nevertheless, I mean, that's not a lot in what you normally see from an Indianapolis Colts front. So you had to adjust with that. And, Anthony Richardson completing 67% of his passes, 270 passing yards and over 30 rushing yards, 3 touchdowns. I mean, he was setting career highs. And, that was just such a great game to watch because as someone that still believes in Anthony Richardson, it was something that you really wanted to see happen. But, as far as the rest of the team goes, dude, that first 5 drives, the Colts allowed only 35 yards of offense on the Jets. 35 yards on the first 5 drives. And then after that, it's like they forgot how to play football again. I hate this team so much that when the offense plays good, the defense doesn't. And when the defense plays good, the offense doesn't. I hate it so much. But, they did win. And like you said, it gives them a chance to make the playoffs still. And, it silences anyone who thought even remotely that Joe Flacco was the best chance for the Colts to win. Clearly he's not. Anthony Richardson is the direction going forward.
Major shout out to Derek. I know you love you some Tony Richardson. So we can go ahead and move on and go to Ruben. Ruben, what are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I mean, when you look at, the game as a whole, you could say, yeah, AR definitely did look like a franchise quarterback today. Quarterback rating of 106.5, 2 tutties on the ground, 1 through the air. And like Derek mentioned, there was a lot of lead changes in the fourth quarter. But, I want to commend AR's, maturity after that moment against us where he taps out and it's national media saying he's done. It's Colts fans saying he's done. He gets benched and gets an opportunity to come out there and, who cares if it is the Jets? Hey, my squad lost to the Jets, man, on Thursday Night Football. Just embarrassing. But, for him, a young guy, and a lot of their young guys stepped up. Josh Downs, Alec Pierce, even A.D. Mitchell, got some work involved. So a good sign for Indianapolis. It's just like, it's just like I said about my offense. We got to see this consistently, get 1% better every day. But good job for Anthony Richardson.
So I'll go ahead and butt in here since I keep going last. Yeah, I mean, I was impressed with this one, especially with the way Anthony Richardson kind of, came back after getting benched. Of course, it probably showed a little bit of immaturity with what happened against Houston Texans, kind of taking him out of the game, and they were almost kind of forced to do that. But yeah, he came back and obviously put together an impressive performance. And I think we all know that he had the ability to do that, but now it's all about consistency because it's his stop. It's his, job right now to be starting quarterback. Now it's like, okay, Anthony Richardson, you guys are now 5-6. You have an opportunity to really elevate this team, put this team on your back and lead the Colts into a playoff spot, whether that be a wild card spot or maybe they go on a crazy run and can somehow really compete in the AFC South. So yeah, it was a good game. Now, one thing about the Colts is they are definitely very, very up and down. They're the kind of team that can put in this performance, and all of a sudden next week, Gus Bradley's defense doesn't show up, and the team, the opponent puts up 35 points, and it's like, what is this Indianapolis Colts team? Right. That's been a big issue with them. I feel like they're very inconsistent, but obviously they're 5-6 right now. They have a pretty good opportunity to be able to make some noise in the AFC South. And I believe you guys have a game against the Broncos, right? So that'll be a big one.
Yes, that will be the ultimate determiner on if the Indianapolis Colts make it. They could, if they lose to the Lions and to the Broncos, their chances of making the playoffs is basically at 40% at best. So if they beat the Broncos, they can lose against the Lions and one other team this year, and they still have a really good shot because the Broncos are the next team above us to the final wild card spot. So
yes. So when you look at the Indianapolis Colts, their schedule right now, okay, so they have 6 games left, of course. They have New England, Tennessee, Giants, and Jacksonville. So 4 very bad teams, but they also play against the Detroit Lions at home this upcoming Sunday and also have an away game in Denver. So yeah, definitely some opportunity here. There's definitely some games those games where it's like you should win this game, so you can't lose those games. But even if they just go 4-2, there's a pretty good shot. But you have to win those games that are that you're supposed to win. And I don't know if Colts fans are a little bit scared about Jacksonville the final week. I don't know. Whenever you guys need to beat Jacksonville for some reason,
I have a feeling we're gonna lose. We are gonna need to at least beat Denver because we could pull off the win of the year against Detroit, but even then we still won't beat y'all in the final week. I have no faith.
And it's amazing the Jaguars are 2-9 right now, and somehow they're able to beat the Colts at home. I'll never understand it. But with that said, we didn't get Rossi's thoughts. Rossi, what are your thoughts on this Colts game?
Yeah, I mean, it was to see Richardson out there, doing better and doing his thing. Yeah, I mean, obviously, yeah, I gave Derek a lot of crap about like Flacco being the man and MVP and all that. And I knew Flacco was eventually gonna start going downhill. I mean, it was only so long before that happened. And no, I mean, for the Colts, it's good to see Anthony Richardson doing his thing out there. I was able to catch some of that game. I mean, Josh Downs, like that dude is the real deal. Like he's been on my fantasy team most of the year. And I thought like, oh man, Flacco's going to be out. Like Downs is not going to produce as much, but it's good to see Richardson hitting Downs because that's their best receiver right now,
Yep.
And Pierce made another play. Love the physicality by Anthony Richardson, like on that end zone run, throwing a stiff arm, lowering his shoulder.
Killed Jalen Mills on that first touchdown run. Killed him.
Right. The throw to Downs with the defender draped on him. The Colts down 16-4 with 12 minutes to go in the fourth, and Richardson was perfect on the last two drives. I mean, what more can you ask out of a quarterback when you're down 16-24 in the NFL with 12 minutes to go? Albeit against the Jets, but the Jets were making some plays that game. The Jets have moments where they're like decent, what I mean? Like a quarter here and a quarter there. But I mean, seeing Anthony Richardson bring them back, if I was a Colts fan, I'd be like, heck yeah, man. Like, let's see what we got. Let's keep going.
Yeah, so that's the Indianapolis Colts game. Got another super chat from Paul. He
Man,
says,
Paul's a millionaire.
Yeah, no, he's a millionaire.
Paul be goated in this stream, man.
I could never afford to spend $20 on a live stream. So, Paul, you're the GOAT. He says, I would imagine being a Jags or Titans fan is like being a piece of excrement floating out to the sea. Okay, I'm broke now. Peace. I'll just say this.
Appreciate you, Paul.
I have a baby boy coming and joining the world in March. Okay, I can take the pain of being a Jaguars fan. Okay, I can take it, but they better fix themselves because I do not want to put my son through the same things that I am going through.
You might need to start making sure your son knows the ways of the Colts. Okay, because at least then you can be a part of a winning organization.
The Colts. When it was, remind me again, when was the last time y'all won an AFC South championship here on the AFC South Roundtable?
When's the last time you guys won a Super Bowl?
No one cares about those Vietnam rings.
Right. We did it.
I don't know. I wasn't able to watch the game. Is it still out on VHS?
How old were you in 2007? Don't talk to me.
2007, man. It was PSP SmackDown versus Raw, man.
2007, I was literally 13, bro. How old were you? You were like 10.
Nah, he was 25.
Yeah, I literally was 10.
He just got done with
you were 10 years old.
Yeah, I literally
was 10. You probably went to bed at halftime because it was your bedtime.
Hell no, dude. I felt like the coolest kid in the world at that time, dude. Staying up late, watching them win, going to school the next day, wearing the Colts jersey, feeling like the coolest kid in the whole school. Heck yeah.
Oh, man.
Whose jersey did you wear?
I honestly don't even remember. It might have been old Anthony Gonzalez shirt.
He's probably
I didn't have a Peyton Manning jersey back then. I didn't have one of those.
This boy said 2007. The Texans were 5 years old.
That's insane.
Wow.
That's insanity. All right, well, we're going to move on to the Houston Texans game, probably the game of the week, of course. It's funny because this game against the Dallas Cowboys was a part of their first place schedule. If you're the best team in a division, you're going to play the best teams in every other division. But the Dallas Cowboys, their first place schedule got them a 3-6 Dallas Cowboys in Jerry World. Ruben, tell us a little bit about this one after the Texans had a commanding 34-10 victory
Yeah, no, like I said last week, there is a rivalry here in Texas. Texans fans hate Cowboys fans, and it's vice versa. So to walk into Jerry World and just embarrass them, man, I was so happy. They opened the roof the first time they did it in a long time, and then the roof just collapsed. Their entire season has been a collapse. The Houston Texans own the beautiful state of Texas, ladies and gentlemen. We are firing on all cylinders, but in real honesty, you saw a bounce back performance from your offense. Like I mentioned, the past 4 weeks hadn't scored a touchdown in quarters 3 and 4, and they get that done. So now it's just about getting better every single week. Your defense sacked Cooper Rush, I believe 5 times, and that is without Will Anderson Jr. The Houston Texans have an elite defense, ladies and gentlemen, a Super Bowl caliber defense. The only thing holding us back is this offense, their inability to adjust in the second half and keep CJ Stroud upright. They made some changes, a new offensive line. We saw Nico Collins in the time that he was out there was moved into the slot. So I am excited for the rest of the season, man. We got to get it going.
Yeah, man. So I'll go ahead and butt in here, give my take. But real quick, guys, just so you guys know, the best way to support these streams are to drop a like on this stream. I think we're at 63 likes with over 200 people watching. So if we can get this to 100 likes before this stream is over, it really helps us out when it comes to the YouTube algorithm suggesting these streams to Jaguars, Titans, Texans and Colts fans. So just want to put that out there. But yeah, and the Houston Texans obviously needed this one. I mean, they were just straight up better than the Cowboys. So when you're in that situation, you got to actually beat them. Of course, they lost some games to some good opponents. So this was a good time for a bounce back for them. And of course, exactly, they do have a stretch of very, very easy games coming up. And obviously Joe Mixon this game really, really led the attack. And, this is something that, the Texans, they've been trying to really find their offensive identity all season, but to be able to get 109 yards on the ground and 3 touchdowns from Joe Mixon is really, really big. Now, of course, Nico Collins did seem to be on some kind of a snap count, but I'd imagine next week he will probably be a full go. And, it's all about, hey, can you keep CJ Stroud upright and kind of get him really just a stat sheet in the right place? I mean, it's crazy you're this far into the year and his stat line is 12 touchdowns, is 7 interceptions. I mean, he was an MVP candidate going into the season, but, obviously you can debate if it's a CJ Stroud issue, offensive line issue, offensive coordinator issue, whatever it is. It's just, it's really hard in the NFL to really point at one single thing and look at that way. But yeah, the Texans get a good victory over the Dallas Cowboys on Monday Night Football after a tough one on Sunday Night Football against the Detroit Lions. So we'll go ahead and shoot this one over to Titans Rossi.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the Texans weren't playing like a great Cowboys team, but they did do better. It was good to see Nico Collins back out there. Mixon is looking awesome out there. I mean, he's looking like a true straight up running back for the Texans. When he's playing well, the Texans are playing well. Stroud looked better in this game. He had the interception, I think he was in the red zone, kind of a bad interception there. But, Nico Collins makes a huge difference when this guy is out there. Like, even if he's not, even though he was probably on a snap count, he still had like 4 catches for 54 yards. Like, he makes a difference for them when he is out there on the sidelines in that game. 17 unanswered points in the second half for the Texans. I mean, that's what you want, the hit that, what's his name?
Jaden Petrie.
Yeah. What do you think of that hit, man? Was it illegal or
no? Not a flag, which was why I understood why you were upset about your penalty, because it was the exact same thing. Petrie led with his shoulder, hit him in the shoulder. No, head-to-head contact was involved. You definitely hate to see those type of plays, right? Because you want to reward your safety, your defensive backs for doing a clean, legit tackle, and they get penalized. So hopefully soon we get to have an opportunity to review just those type of penalties, but I did not think it was a flag whatsoever. I didn't think yours was a flag either.
Yeah, dude, I saw that hit, man. I was like, dude, freaking late. It reminded me of just, it was just old school NFL, dude.
Lane Wood.
miss those days sometimes, man. It sucks what they're doing to the league. But I mean, I get it. Like I get what they're trying to do, but it's got to be some type of reform, man. It's nuts. But nah, dude. I mean, the Texans, look, they have an opportunity to right the ship and be what we think the Texans can be. You know what I mean? And it starts now with Nico back. If they can get Stroud, churning again and playing like he was last season, I mean, the Texans could be something,
I agree.
All right, Derek, clean it up for us, man.
Yeah, it's funny that this game was actually, what was it, like 17-10, like at the end of the second quarter. I mean, this was a close game for at least half of it. I mean, obviously kudos to the Texans for at the end of the game started pulling away because their defense was starting to just force turnovers, that scoop and score that, they had in the third quarter where they made the Cowboys fumble twice on the same play and then resulted in a scoop and score. I mean, that is what the Houston Texans have been this year.
Six.
Relying on their defense really to help keep them going right now. I'll tell you what, though, their offensive woes are still a little bit of a concern for me. CJ Stroud, I get it. The offensive line has certainly not been good, but a lot of the throws that you expect CJ Stroud to hit, a lot of them were a lot of short throws, a lot of inaccurate throws. Obviously still went 23 of 34. So it's not like it was the worst thing in the world, but I mean, and he spread the ball around a lot, but like nobody really took the game over. Outside of Joe Mixon, nobody really on the offense took the game over. Now, obviously, the first play of the game got called back, and it would have been a 70-yard touchdown by Nico Collins. That would obviously that happened as well. But yeah, the offense for the Texans is going to be their struggle, and inevitably when they do end up making the playoffs at some point, I think it's going to end up being their demise because they just aren't very consistent right now from almost every position besides Joe Mixon. So, hey, you beat the team that, you're supposed to beat. I mean, this Cowboys team is falling apart from the inside out, literally and figuratively. So, you took care of business. You win another one of your across the state rivals. So, you do what you got to do.
So with all that said, guys, that will be your recap of this last NFL week. We appreciate all you guys so much for joining. And like we said, man, these streams are all powered by BetUS. 150% deposit bonus using promo code YouTube150. And on your way out, guys, 11 likes away from 100. If you guys enjoyed today's show, the least you can do is just drop a like for us. And with all that said, we will see you guys Thursday where we will go ahead and give our predictions for just 2 AFC South games, okay? Jaguars on a bye. The Colts play the Lions, and we have an inner AFC South matchup with the Texans and Titans. So we will see you guys Thursday. Thank you guys all so much for tuning in. Catch you guys next time.
Peace.